Okay, I'd like to call the Budget and Finance Committee meeting to order. We're going to let everyone please rise. We'll have an invocation by Ms. Williams, followed by a Pledge of Allegiance by Ms. Cavalier.
Dear Lord, we're coming to you as humbly as we can to ask for leadership and guidance as we become stewardships over the money that this parish has. We're asking that everything that we place will be for the betterment of the people of Terrebonne Parish. Amen.
States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation. Okay, roll call, please. As soon as you're ready.
Cavalier. Mr. Sehan. Mr. Abear.
Here.
Mr. Lambert. Mr. LaPere. Mr. Pizzolatto. Mr. Tillman. Mr. Wazan. Ms. Williams. Mr. Chairman, we have a quorum.
Thank you, ma'am.
You're welcome.
I have two announcements to make before the meeting starts. Mr. Hal LaPere, District 6, will be absent from tonight's committee meeting. Please be advised that I'll be unable to attend this evening's committee meeting due to an unexpected out-of-town business commitment. I apologize for any inconvenience my absence may cause. Thank you. The second announcement is from Pete Lambert, Councilman District 9, absent from tonight's budget hearing. Please be advised that due to my continued work schedule as a result of Hurricanes Gustav and Ike, I will be unable to attend this evening's budget hearing. I apologize for any inconvenience my absence may cause. Thank you. Okay, if we look at item 1 of the agenda, continue review of the proposed 2009 budget. And we will start, I guess, begin, Jamie, with the coroner, which is fund number 151-205 on page 58. Wait, hold on, let me get you hooked up. Okay, let's try it.
Okay. We fund a portion of the coroner's budget. $705,000 has been requested for 2009, which is a 10.47% increase. If you have any questions, we have a representative from the coroner's office. They actually adopt a separate budget. The $705,000 is what we give them, and they pay their own bills. They have no change in personnel. They have 11 full-time and 1 part-time.
Okay, I have one question here so far, Ms. Cavalier.
I would just like to know the reason for the increase.
Good
Whoever wants
question.
to come
Do we have
answer.
anyone here from the
We
coroner's
have
office?
Nancy Newsom here.
Miss Nancy.
Hey, Nancy.
A lot of our increase is due to us having a separate building now. We have to have a cleaning service. Our vehicle insurance has gone up considerably. And there's certain things in the office, like we had got new computers with some grant money we had, and when the new computers were purchased, we have to have a company come in and take care of those new computers because there's no generator in our office. Therefore, every time the power goes out, the computers go out.
Does the 67,000 approximately include the purchase of a new generator?
No.
And the reason we're not asking for a new generator? Or trying to get one?
We just haven't tried. Our generator also went out at the morgue, and we had to have that fixed. That's why the morgue expense went up.
Okay.
Plus, we have the cleaning service, which we had come for the morgue.
Okay, Miss Elford, if you just wait for a second. They're in a new building. That was the $20,000 capital outlay that we had from last year to help them get into the new building? Looking at it, it says 2008 budget and the 2008 projected, and it had 20,000 capital outlay.
That was for equipment, but she'll have to explain what kind of equipment it is, but it was the equipment in the facility that has to do with the drawers they had to be,
That was the
replaced.
morgue equipment.
Okay.
That was the body lift and bariatric cart.
Okay, I'd like, administration, if y'all will make a note, we need to find out what kind of, expenses are being incurred because of the loss of electricity, and what kind of generator we need at that place to keep these expenses from recurring before this process is over. And we'll see if we need to increase this amount or need to decrease something else. I'd like to see a breakdown of their expenses when she talks about the service for the computer. So if you could go back and, itemize and tell us where these increases are coming from, that would help a lot.
Right.
But if we have something that's happening that every time it happens, after 4 or 5 times, we could have bought a generator to pay for it. I have no idea where this building is or what size. I don't know what size generators. I'll leave that to the Mr. Seahans of the world. But if we can figure out, the cost and if it's appropriate and more efficient than paying a service every time something goes out, I'd appreciate it.
Also, when we were in the hospital, we didn't need a cleaning service.
Okay?
So we have to pay for the cleaning service.
And that cleaning
too.
service is a certified or something, correct?
That's for the morgue.
Okay, because I remember in
The
the
other
middle of the
cleaning
year, we had to
service-
give y'all some money
Yeah,
because y'all had to start doing this.
They're two separate cleaning services. The one at the morgue had to be EPA certified. The one in our office is just the same cleaning service that does the government towers.
Okay, all right. So if you could include all of that, okay? And we could see how it adds up to the, approximate number that you're asking for. I mean, I don't doubt that you need it, but I just would rather have a better idea of why I need, because that's a large amount
Right,
for
right.
1 year increase. I mean,
Right.
if we had seen a steady increase every year, then I would understand. But,
Also, our psychiatric patients have doubled.
see, we need to know that. That makes sense.
They've gone from like 351 to 600.
And
So
when
we'll
you
have
talk about a
about
psychiatric,
1,200. We'll have
about how much per
1,200.
patient is that, costing? Just a rough amount.
The fees for service is $40 a patient, and it depends if we do like an order of protective custody, or if it's a judicial commitment or a sanity commission.
Okay,
They're all broke down into separate areas.
all right. So,
If you
Ms.
go to
Alford?
page 389, she actually has her performance measures broken down in the miscellaneous section. Again, they adopt their budget separately from ours. All we do is budget the transfer of the $705,000, but they actually give us a scenario of where some of their activities have increased. For example, under the number of investigation mental cases, in 2007, it was 423. They're expecting 616 for 2008.
why would they have projected 600 for 2009? That's less than what was projected, was,
They come and go.
2008.
They come and go.
But you
But
think you'll have
because-
less next year than you had this year?
Yeah. Because of this, a lot of them were dislocated Katrina victims.
Mm.
And because the hospitals in New Orleans weren't up and running, we had gotten most of their patients.
Okay. All right.
I also would like to see a detail. I think
Okay.
that would be good. That's well.
And you could just, if you get that to Paul, and then he can get it to us.
Okay,
That'll be
okay.
great.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, you
Thank you.
finished, Ms. Cavalier? Okay, Mr. Tillman?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Hello, Ms. Newsom. Ms. Newsom, do you guys have any income come from any other sources?
Yeah, we have revenues from, we charge people for reports, and I've been charging when the funeral homes take the body bags and don't return them.
Take the body bags. Do you get?
If we send a body to them in a body bag, then they either have to return it or they have to pay us a fee.
Okay. Where does this body bag come from?
We buy them.
And what's the purpose of the coroner's office placing the body in a body bag?
Most of the bodies go in the body bag.
Okay, and I asked that question because of this, and I asked that because I also have some funeral homes that ask me about that, and we also have some funeral homes ourselves. And one of the things that we're concerned about, as well as some of the other funeral homes, is that why do we have to pay for body bags if you're already being, number one, funded for the body bag, and number two, if the funeral home is not the facility that's requesting the use of the body bag. So the question I have is, why would they have to pay for a body bag when they don't need a body bag to pick a body up?
When the body bag is, or when the body is put in the morgue, it has to be in a bag. That's the rules of Department of Health and Hospitals.
Okay,
So
and
when
I,
a funeral home picks up the body that's already in a bag, they either replace the bag or I charge them for it.
okay, and I do understand what you're saying, but I think for me, I don't understand if one of my guys would go out and let's say for example, one of my guys was called in to pick up a body at a resident, okay, and that body does not need a bag, so therefore we would not have to use a bag. But on the other hand, let's say for example, if it's a coroner's case and the coroner would have to go out there and pick the body up. My question is that if you're required to get a body bag and you have to pick it up because it's a coroner's case, then why would we have to pay for the bag that you would have to use? Why would we have to, as in the funeral home business, would have to incur that cost when ordinarily we would not?
When it's a coroner's case, they have to be put in a bag in order to be put in the morgue.
Right, and I understand that. So
So-
my question to you is that you would have to use the body bag regardless. So basically what you're doing is that you're charging those facilities for a body bag and they have nothing to do with it. Because you would have to use the body bag anyway because you picked the body up.
Right, but they have to replace them. They just replace them. If they don't replace the
Okay.
bag, then I charge them.
Okay. Let me see if I can clarify this. All right. If you go out as the coroner's office,
Right.
okay, you have to get a body bag because you were requested as the coroner to come and pick that body up and
Right.
bring it to your facility.
Right.
Okay. Now, if for example, if it was us had to go out and pick a body up and it was required for a bag, then I would have to say that we would have to pay for that bag because that is our responsibility and our duties. But on the other hand, what you're saying to me is that although I have to pick up a body and I need a body bag in order to do that, I'm saying to you as the funeral home, you need to pay us for it because we had to use it, but you need to pay us for it. And I just think that it's kind of unfair.
Now, when the funeral homes pick up the bodies and bring them to their funeral homes, whether they use a bag or not is none of our concern.
Right.
But if the body goes to our morgue, it has to have a bag.
Okay. Now, the other thing is that how would the body get to your morgue?
We have units that we pick them up and bring them over.
Okay. So therefore, you would have to go out and pick that body up. And I still don't quite understand why would I have to, or my guys would have to go out, or any other funeral home would have to go out and pay for your bag when it's your responsibility and your duty to pick the body up, and you have to supply the bag for it, and you telling us that we need to
But
go
the
ahead on and pay
taxpayers
for it.
supply the bags.
So other words, you're saying that the taxpayer actually paying for a bag,
That
and then you come and you get funding for the bag.
if we buy the bags,
Okay.
it comes out of our funding.
Okay.
All we do is have the funeral homes replace the bags that we buy.
Okay, all right. I guess I'll get back with you on this later because I still don't quite understand it. And the reason why I don't understand it is that I have a crew of guys that have to pick bodies up. You have a crew of guys that got to pick bodies
Right.
up. And in picking those bodies up, there are some prerequisites to that. Okay? If the body is in such a condition, then you would have to put it in a body bag. Okay? And under certain circumstances, as a funeral home, we do have to put bodies in a body bag. And at that point, bring the body, perhaps, if the coroners don't come out and pronounce it, we would have to bring it to the coroner's office. But we don't expect you guys to pay for the bag that we have to use. So I'm saying to you, I don't understand why I have to pay for a bag that you have to use in doing your job. It's required that you use the bag, but you're saying to me as a funeral home, although I'm required to use it, I want you to pay for it. But I'll get with you on that later.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Only one other question. Do you have any salary increases in this budget?
Yes, I think they do. We had hired, we had one investigator that resigned, and we had brought in a new investigator.
Mm-hmm.
And it's in the 2 investigators on the annual salary.
Okay. And the rest of your department would remain the same,
I think they're 3%.
3%? Okay, I see a light here. Administration, anybody? Oh, light.
Oops, sorry.
Yeah, you did.
I must have hit the light.
All right. Okay, any other questions for Ms. Nancy? All right, that's fine, Ms. Nancy, thank you. Okay, next item on the agenda is Fund Number 151-654, Parish Farm Agent, Mr. Joffron. We're in page 73 of our budget.
I'm going to go directly to page 75, where it has the financial highlights. They're asking for a $3,000 increase, which is 7.5%, to pay for an assistance needed for the Lafourche Parish agent. The majority of their salary is paid by the Louisiana State University. We supplement a small, very small portion of their salary. We also pay for the building rent that they're located, and a couple of other incidental expenses like their copy machine and a cell phone. But I wanted to give you a heads up that we may be coming back to you prior to the end of this year or early next year. The building lease is up for negotiation, and we do anticipate an increase in that area. So we will be giving you a heads up when that comes. And they haven't had an increase since we started renting from over there, so.
Okay, I see no lights on this. Anyone has any questions? If not, one comment? Okay, Ms. Cavalier.
I think you'll do an excellent job with the money that y'all have. I see the results in the rural community, Bayou Blue area. I mean, it's growing. It's not going to be rural for very long. But talking to the farmers out there, there's a lot going on that we don't know about because most of us are not farmers. But the staff out there, they're very active with the farmers. And then I see in the school system coming in that 4-H club is a real good, wholesome place for our kids to be. So I think you do a real good job with what you've got. Thank you. Please. Good, Mr. Joffrion, sir.
Yes, come on up, Mr. Bart.
Barton Joffrion with the LSU Ag Center. I just dropped everybody off one of these, just some of the highlights of what we do. And there's some publications. Louisiana Home Citrus is brand new. Everybody's concerned about the Asian citrus psyllid. And who knows what's going to be brought in from these last two storms as far as insects and disease pressure. And the other one is Louisiana Lawns, which is one of our most popular, and then the vegetable planting guide and some information on termites. Just let your constituents know that, I mean, they can get that information from us. It's free. Call, online, or come by and get it. And we do appreciate the support that y'all give us in our budget.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, that's it, Ms. Cavalier? Okay. Okay, next item is Fund Number 151-409, The Haven, which is page 62.
Again, I'll go directly to page 64 for the financial highlights. Although we had a typographical error in the budget message, we had $50,000. We do have a request for $40,000, which is the same as 2008. If anybody has any questions about the program, we do have some performance measures in here, but we also have Julie Pellegrin in the audience.
Yeah. Yes, Ms. Cavalier?
Keeping the same amount? Then
That's
they
correct,
requested the same
40,000.
amount and we're keeping the same amount.
$40,000 is what we have submitted.
That's great. It's another organization that does a wonderful job of handling their money. Goes a really long way. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions from the committee? Okay. Next fund number is 215, the Office of Coastal Restoration and Preservation, page 125.
On page 127, the budget highlights, we have $42,000 anticipated in 2009 from the Department of Natural Resources to be used for Coastal Zone Management Program. Coastal impact fees collected are estimated at $250,000, and a request for one capital item, which is a computer, for $2,000.
Okay, any questions? Comments? Okay, that's fine, thank you. Next item is fund number 203-202, Parish Jail Medical Department, page 94.
The budget highlights on page 94. We have a contract with the Haydale Clinic for the physicians of $75,000 per year. With the inclusion of dental care, ambulance, and hospital care, the medical services are estimated for 2009 at for $140,000. It's a typo. Under personnel, they're adding one full-time EMT, and they're eliminating 3 part-time EMTs. Under capital, they're requesting 1 medical cabinet for $1,200 and 1 computer for $1,630. I do anticipate us coming back prior to the end of the year to have some significant changes in the 2008 budget because the jail is currently shut down. We do have some anticipated costs, so we will be coming back with a report later on this year.
Thank you. Okay, I'll recognize Mr. Pizzolato.
Thank you. To administration.
Yes, sir, go ahead.
How much does the sheriff's department put into this medical service? Do you have any idea?
What they do is they pay us 50% of the $21 a day from the DOC, Department of Corrections prisoners. For 2008, we had budgeted $740,000. We do not anticipate getting that much. We are down to about $535,000, and that was estimated right before the storm hit. I do not anticipate that $535,000. But they do participate in the total budget. Their total budget is $3,449,000, of which they give us usually $740,000 a year.
And that's for their medical expenses?
That is for the total operations, what they contribute to help us fund that department.
Okay, thank you.
See, we have Mr. Neal here. You have any comments, Mr. Neal?
No, I just was, I want to see if you had any questions.
Oh, okay, great. All right, any other questions? Okay, thank you, Mr. Neal. Okay, the next item is item number 205-196, Fund Auditoriums, page 108.
Budget highlights for auditoriums. They are anticipating rental fees for both auditoriums about $40,000. They're asking for capital, a new ceiling in the municipal auditorium, $50,000.
Okay, Ms. Williams.
Mr. Drury? Or Ann?
David Drury, Government Buildings Department.
Can you tell me when the renovations are gonna start at the Dumas Auditorium?
I don't have a date set yet. I know that they assigned the architects to do the ADA compliant restrooms and stuff. It's going to be a major project at both the Dumas and the municipal.
Is there enough money budgeted? Cause I don't see anything requested for Dumas. So is there enough money already budgeted for that?
Yeah, I think we have enough money. We have that, some money that was left in that portico that was planned years ago that never came to play. So we have some funds in that account, and I think we're putting an additional $50,000. And that's to take care of both facilities, Dumas and the municipal.
So this new ceiling in the municipal, the $50,000 that you're requesting, you're gonna spread it between the two? Or that
Correct.
it's just gonna, okay.
Right.
Is it just gonna cover the ceiling I mean, cause a ceiling is expensive, so I'm trying to figure out if you're gonna have
Right.
enough to split this money.
Right, it's gonna cover the ceiling and the AD, we have $116,000, so what we're gonna do is tie in everything as a project, because we're doing the, Mr. Claudet, wanted us to evaluate the need for the ADA compliant restroom upgrade at both facilities, so we're gonna tie that into the same project and do it all together, and that will be enough money.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
All right, thank you. Mr. Sehan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Drury, the ceiling at the municipal, was it damaged due to the storms, or it's just needing to be replaced?
It was in fair condition before the storm. However, the storm did pressurize the facility, and we've got probably close to maybe 2,000 square feet of ceiling that came down that we're going to be replacing. Now, we're going to go ahead and do that as a temporary fix so we can get the auditorium back in rental condition. And then once we do the project with all the whole new ceiling and the bathrooms, that'll all be tied in together.
Okay, were we able to get any FEMA money to do those repairs, or that doesn't fall under that?
We are working with public assistance. You know, we've been working with that diligently. You know, we're trying to stay on top of it, and we're going to ask for some assistance with that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. Pizzolato.
Thank you. On your projects, how much are you spending on both projects as one project? That's what you're saying? You're gonna combine the Dumas and the municipal as one project?
Yes, I believe if I stand corrected, I mean, it is one project to do the ADA restrooms at both facilities.
All right.
However, we are going to do some other, tie in some improvements. We're not just going to focus, we don't want to just do the restrooms. We're going to be painting interiors, doing some improved lighting, and
Well, how much money are we talking about for both projects?
we're estimating, I mean, we have an architect assigned to it. We have $116,000, I believe, is what's left in that
And
fund.
you hired an architect to do this? Somebody hired an architect?
No. Administration, I believe, has assigned an architect to provide services for that.
For an ADA restroom, nobody in our administration knows what an ADA restroom looks like and what it's supposed to have. You can get a little chart that tells you what to do. We have to have an architect? Under 116,000, if you split it in half, that's 2 jobs, and you don't have to hire an architect.
You can't circumvent, yeah.
Well, you got 2 different buildings. That's not, you got 2 separate identities. That's 2 projects. Why would you want to combine them to where you're going to have to hire an architect because of the funding? And if we don't have somebody that knows what an ADA restroom looks like, ask me and I'll go get a copy for you.
Mr. Bush?
Greg Bush, Public Works. We decided to go with an architect simply because we have 2 different buildings, different ages, and different structural integrity of the buildings. After examining it, yes, I did look at doing it in-house. And yes, we do know what an ADA bathroom looks like, but we are not structural engineers. And in order to take those bathrooms and change the configuration to make them ADA compliant, it requires some structural engineering. The architectural firm that I recommended to Mr. Claudet has that structural experience.
Mr. Bush, all you do is break in some concrete to move a commode so that you're going to have 48 inches in the stall so that the wheelchair can
And
get
when
in
the
and
ceiling
turn around.
falls down, because I did a wall that's structural support.
A wall? You have to move
If-
a wall?
We may have to.
But you may, but you're not sure. Did somebody go in there and measure from A to B for 48 inches?
An ADA wall or an ADA door has to be 42 inches wide.
Correct. You
The
need a
doors are
48
not
inch stall.
42 inches wide right now.
You need a 48-inch stall.
But the door, I'm talking about the door just to the entrance.
Yes.
I'm not even in the stalls yet, okay? And the door in the auditorium has an iron frame that's structurally tied into the walls.
Yes.
They're a load-bearing wall. You need a structural engineer to determine if that load-bearing wall is going to cause further damage to the building. My engineers are not structural engineers. Now, we can identify a load-bearing wall, which we did, and that's why I went and got an architectural firm. Now, if you want me to just go take a sledgehammer and slam into the wall, I'll do that for you. But when the building comes down, or parts of the building come down, don't blame me.
I would like to see somebody go over there with a saw and cut the concrete with a concrete cutting saw, brace the wall before you cut it. Any carpenter would do that goes into any home and does the same thing on a load-bearing wall without having an architect. You're going to spend 20% of your budget for an architect. It's only my opinion, and I'm not going to make a motion or anything. But I just don't see why for 2 separate projects, that we've got to hire an architect. Thank you.
Okay, continuing with lights, Mr. Vazan, you up.
Thank you, sir. To the guy Drury.
Yes, sir, Mr. Drury.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Drury, the municipal, you say, needs ceiling work
Yes,
before we can rent again?
correct.
It's not being rented now?
No, sir.
Don't we have contracts that are out on that building, I think, a year in advance?
Oh, yes, yes.
So where are these people going?
I mean, right now, we're scheduled to reopen it on November 22nd, I believe, is the soonest that we'll get somebody in there.
The soonest.
Yes, sir.
We need to change some ceiling tiles. We're a month away from the hurricane, and we're another month away from opening that municipal auditorium. To
Well,
change some
actually,
ceiling
what
tiles.
transpired is the Red Cross just moved out of there, okay? I believe it was not this past Saturday, but the Saturday before. And we really couldn't do anything in the building while Red Cross was there with their operations. You know, they were out in our community. The operations center was set up. They probably had close to 100 employees, 80 employees reporting there every day. So I know it's not the people that had rented it, you know, it kind of put them out. But I mean, that was the decision that was made. That would be the operations center for the Red Cross to service our community. Now, we're going to get it back in shape as soon as we can. Okay, I've called a couple contractors, and I'm waiting on them to go out there and see if we can replace all the ceiling tile and paint it.
How many
I don't
ceiling
have the
tiles?
staff to do that, first of all. Okay, and we're not talking about, you know, 20 or 30 ceiling tile. We're talking about hundreds and hundreds of ceiling tile, you know, working in a probably 26-foot ceiling height with man lifts and so forth. You know,
People were going in there, visiting with the Red Cross. Is that what you're telling me, in an unsafe condition?
no, we had removed all the ceiling tile that had came down. Everything that was loose was removed. Okay, so we still had our strip ceiling there. Okay, so it wasn't unsafe from a cosmetic standpoint. It looked terrible. Okay, but it was not an unsafe condition. We had no public in there other than the Red Cross volunteers. It was their operations center. They would meet there, then every day they distribute into our community throughout the parish to provide services.
And they're gone now? How long have they been gone?
It was a week ago this past Saturday.
And what are we waiting on right now to get a contractor in there and fix it?
Correct.
What are we waiting for?
A contractor to get in there and get it fixed. Okay. We've been steadily cleaning up the facility and, you know, getting it back in shape, you know.
My God, I'm glad hurricane season only comes once a year. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Vazan. Continuing with lights, Ms. Cavalier.
I would just like us to think out the box for a minute. In 2007, 243,000. 2008, 445,000. 2009, 321,000. For a building that generates approximately $40,000, we have a civic center. We have a building. We also have the Dumas. Maybe we need to look at this building has served its purpose. I know that some carnival crews, you know, they love this place, and other people, and I'm not talking about tomorrow, but I'm talking about in the, you know, you have contracts for a year, but maybe we need to look at this building would be better service to our people if we sold it. This, to me, is a money pit. We just keep pouring it and pouring it and pouring it, and it has prime location, especially with the hospital proximity. We could look at, you know, selling this and putting this money in an account, and these wonderful firemen and policemen that are, you know, in the city of Houma, and we have to go into the general fund. I mean, there's all kind of stuff we could do with this money. And so people would have to have their weddings at another place and maybe carnival tableaus at another place. I mean, just this is thinking out the box. Because how many years are we going to keep this place going? I thought the whole reason we built the Civic Center was because we had outgrown the municipal auditorium. So maybe this is just a thought. I'm putting it out there. Maybe we'll get some people talking about it, thinking out the box. Thank you.
Very good. Jamie, you have anything to say? I got your light.
It was Pat.
Oh, it's Pat. I'm sorry.
I was just going to bring up the fact that the Red Cross had requested to stay in the auditorium until November 22nd, so we had to cancel all the events until November 22nd. They did leave last week, which was actually good for Terrebonne Parish because The devastation throughout the parish wasn't as bad as what they had envisioned. But we had canceled all the events until November 22nd. It's not something that you can do week to week because you want to give the individuals enough time to find another location for their wedding or whatever the event is. So we wanted to make sure we gave them enough time up front. So we couldn't do it week to week or 2 weeks to 2 weeks.
Do we have a list of the bookings, and, I mean, who's booking this thing and how often?
Yes.
Y'all,
yes.
y'all studied that to see if?
Yes, well, in fact, Ann Piku is in the audience, and she does the bookings for the auditorium.
Ms. Piku, can you comment on the bookings for the auditorium?
Ann Piku, Planning Department. Your question, sir?
My question is, what is the breakdown of the bookings? I mean, is it weddings? I mean, who's renting the auditorium right now?
Yes, sir. The majority of the rentals at both facilities are weddings that are being held. We also do have some in-house departments that utilize it throughout the week. Head Start utilizes the Dumas Auditorium quite frequently, so there's no cost exchange on that part. You do have seasonal for the Mardi Gras season. We do have a few carnival clubs. I'll be honest with you, when I first came in, I thought the same way that this council is thinking, but it was brought to me to think again outside the box. You do have a lot of citizens in this community that just cannot pay for the Civic Center. The Dumas Auditorium and the Municipal Auditorium are venues that is cost effective for them to have their weddings. The previous administration had kind of looked at, they had actually changed the ordinance a little bit that no more for-profits could rent the facilities. If they were renting it to be able to charge a fee to come inside the facility or to sell tickets for beverages and food and so forth, entertainment, then the Civic Center was the venue that they had to look at. So that was changed in the previous administration.
I see. Okay, question, Mr. Tillman?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and certainly that was one of the concerns that I had in terms of where would those individuals go that cannot afford to pay the cost of the Civic Center, and that was one of the concerns that I had. So, all right. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, we'll move on to the next fund, 151, 194, Government Buildings, page 51. Okay,
Okay, on page 52, we'll go to the highlights for the budget. They're asking for one maintenance technician, a laborer 3, and a carpenter. Under capital, a half-ton pickup truck for $17,500, a one S10 pickup truck, $14,500. Register of Voters Office renovations, $15,000. The generator courthouse annex was pulled prior to us presenting the budget. This was an oversight and not pulled out of the highlights. Under the major, you'll notice that it's 23.96% increase. The majority of the increase happened with the physical plan insurance. We're going from a budget in 2008 of $190,000 up to $274,500. That is just estimating. We do not know how much it's actually going to be, but we have to be prepared for a significant increase. We're actually looking in 2008 about $274,000. When we did the budget for 2008, we estimated $190,000. We actually got a bill for $274,000.
Jamie, is that the problem? It looks like it's almost going up $1 million from 2007.
Under physical plan insurance? No, that's only going up from 190 to 274. Oh, you're talking about the total expenditures?
ma'am,
For the
the
total,
total.
yes, there are some different expenditures that are going up. And if you go to page 33 of the large book, he is asking for additional personnel. That's an increase of about $100,000. Under the supplies and materials, about $10,000 increase. Most of that is in gasoline and oil. If you'll notice, we have a budget of $7,800. He's asking for $12,000 next year. In electricity, We budgeted $750,000 in 2008. That was based on 2007, where we only spent $743,000. We're anticipating $920,000 for 2008, so we have estimated 2009 to be $950,000. So that's a $200,000 increase. And that's not unlike most of the people in Terrebonne Parish. Another increase is under building equipment repairs. He's anticipating a need there from $55,000 to $108,000. He's asked for some extra money to be put in that area.
Okay, I see one light, Mr. Vazan.
Yes, I didn't bring my big book out. Ms. Elford, can you tell me if there are any salary increases in that department?
What we've done is we've actually held back any across-the-board salary increases for the parish until the water's compensation plan comes in.
Are there any included in this at this point?
Not,
Answer's no, Pat?
I'm looking at the department, what we've done, the salary increase is based on the 3 additional positions he's asking for. He's asking for a maintenance technician, a laborer 3, and a carpenter.
The $55,000 additional building, what was it, building equipment? Does your big book tell you what that is?
It only shows the amount. Mr. Drury would like to come up and talk about what his building equipment repairs is going to
Yes,
look at.
If the chairman would allow it.
Yes, sir, Mr. Drury.
Okay. David Drury, Government Buildings. The increase in the building equipment repair is we need to overhaul the 2 chillers for this building, the government tower building. I've got some proposals this year, so we're looking at, close to somewhere around the $45,000 to $50,000 range to tear down both machines and overhaul them. And that's additional cost from the 55 to the 10, I think it was 108.
Mr. Drury, would that be done one at a time, whereas air conditioning is still furnished in the
Yes,
building?
sir.
That's all I have on this matter, sir.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Vazan.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Tillman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Drury, on the building repairs and building equipment repair, can you elaborate on that for me? What does that include, building repair versus building equipment repair?
Okay. Building repairs be such things as, new light fixtures, painting, sheetrock, upgrades, renovations, those types of things.
And building equipment
Building
repair?
equipment is pumps, motors, chillers, those types of things. Fire alarm system improvements, security systems, so forth.
Generators?
Generators, that's covered under it also.
What size generator we have for this building?
200 KVA.
Okay. So if that generator, we're talking $108,000 equipment repairs. So if that generator, let's say that generator would go down, roughly what would it take to bring that generator back up? In terms of maybe, even if it's replacement of it?
For 200, let's see, off the top of my head, I'd say probably 125, something like that.
When the last
give or
time we
take.
had major repairs to it?
Major repairs to that generator?
Yeah.
We haven't had probably as much as 10 years ago.
Really?
We had a radiator replaced on it.
So there's a
That was
warranty?
before the parish
Is it
owned the building.
Some type of warranty on it, or?
On the radiator?
Yeah,
Oh,
generator.
I'm sure we're past that. That was
Past that.
10 years ago. We do preventive maintenance on it. We change the oils, belts, filters, hoses,
Roughly what kind of money we spent on the generator in the last couple of years? Just rough guesstimation.
Probably $500 a year.
$500.
You know,
'Cause I mean, I know
changing
once the
changing
noise-
batteries and
noise
filters.
is
And,
heck when it come on, I can tell you.
right, right.
I was just wondering about that. So thank you, Mr. Drury.
All right.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Seeing no other lights, do we have any more questions? If not, we'll move on to Fund Number 151 and 198, Janitorial Services, page 55.
For janitorial services, the highlight that we have listed is the estimated cleaning services for 2009 is at $287,700. There are no capital requests.
Okay, recognizing lights, Mr. Tillman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Question for Mr. Drury.
Yes, sir, Mr. Drury?
Mr.
David Drury, Government Buildings.
Is the janitorial service, is that 100% outsourced? And if not, what percentage of outsourced we have in there?
It's 100% outsourced.
100%?
Yes.
Have we ever thought about whether or not we would perhaps revert back to, again, to utilize some of our manpower in terms of managing it ourselves?
I've never been given that direction from.
Have you talked about that at all?
No, not at all.
And at one point, we used to do it ourselves?
Correct.
And how was it when we used to handle that service ourselves?
I mean, it was a resource, a pool of employees, you know, that we could pretty much take care of anything that may occur on a daily basis. I guess the downside of contract services is that there are situations that present themselves during a normal business day where we have to kind of have some of our other employees provide some of those duties.
So what type of cost serving have we gotten from outsourcing the service? Have we saved significant amount of money? And if so, roughly how much money have we saved? And
I'd have to refer to Jamie to get some true cost numbers, but I know it was probably $250,000 to $300,000 a year at least when we went to contract services.
We can give you a report on that. I do not have that
all right,
information right now.
you can get it to me later. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you,
Yeah,
Mr. Drury.
I'd like to know how many people come with that contract. How many people are contracted?
We just rebid the contracts and we're reviewing them at the present time. The previous administration had chose to go to 3 separate contract companies and kind of broke it up, and that worked out really well, you know, because if you have poor performance by one contractor, you can take a building away from them and give it to another service. And that's at the present time we have 3 separate contracts with for janitorial services.
All right, I'll continue with lights. Ms. Cavalier?
I forgot my question already. Wait. No, I gotta think. I started reading ahead. That's my problem. Oh well. If I think, I'll call you up, David. Sorry.
Okay, Mr. Tillman. Mr. Tillman.
Just one other question for Mr. Drury. Don't worry about that, Mr. Drury. That's free exercise, Claude. Wait till you get way into the back.
I can use it.
When we started outsourcing the janitorial services, were there one janitorial company we were utilizing at that time, or have we always used 3?
We've always used 3.
Okay, thank you. Thank you,
Yes,
Mr.
sir.
Chairman.
Okay, good. Okay, Ms. Cavalier.
Yeah, I remember now. When we use these janitorial services, do they bid every year over, or is there a contingency fee that they can increase it so much every year?
It's a 3-year contract.
Okay.
However, upon the year when it comes up on that date, they have an opportunity to present to us any increases of cost, and we can take that into consideration.
Okay, so the increases we're seeing that they're asking for this year, that's because they asked for an increase? This is our third year with
Well,
them?
we've had, correct, and we kind of put those numbers there based on, you know, history. And then there's actually a couple of other buildings that we're adding on to the contract. Okay.
So we're changing the original contract?
Oh, yeah.
What
we
all
went-
these people bid on?
No, it's the same contract. We just
We're adding
went
more
back. We had to
buildings.
go back and it came to its term, so it was bid out this year.
Okay, that's what I'm asking. We
Correct.
rebid, and other places had the opportunity to bid on this too?
Oh, yeah. We
Okay.
had probably as many as 15, 16 companies
Okay.
that bid on the work.
But the same 3 won? That
No,
had it
no,
before?
no. We haven't awarded the bids yet. We're still
Okay.
reviewing them.
All right, that's what I wanted to know. Thank you.
Mr. Tillman?
Mr. Drury, when the buildings are going out for bid, is that a certain number of buildings are going out for bid at a particular time? How is that done?
They're all done at the same time. No, we don't bid the government tower separate from the courthouse or the public works facility, or they're all in one package.
So they're all in one package, then okay, let's say, for example, if I was someone that wanted to bid, or that put a bid in, and it's all in one package, then how would you divide that into 3 different companies? How would that happen?
What you do when you bid it, it's broken down per site, okay? And we ask for a weekly cost, okay? Your bid, you have to put a price per week, what you would charge to provide the services, and it's a 23-page document with all the specifications that you have to meet, and you bid on that. If you want to bid on the government tower, you give us your price per week for cleaning, and you meet those standards that are established, okay? And that's for every building.
Well,
Now, what happens is we have to sit down through the purchasing department and myself and review and get the best prices in the best interest of the parish for services, you know. And one may be higher in one building, lower in another, and vice versa. But we have to look at it and try to break it down into. This was kind of unique in a sense that the previous administration chose to go with 3 different companies, but they felt like, I guess, to spread it out within the parish, and it worked out really well. So as far as grouping the buildings, it's at our discretion. We can group them. If I want to give it to a company, and I want to give him 10 buildings and another company 6 buildings, because it's in our best interest, then we have that. It's at our discretion.
So how would you conclude that it would be in your best interest? Let's say you have bidder A, B, and C. How would you conclude that it would be in your best interest to give company B the plurality share of those buildings? How would you come to that conclusion that would be in the best interest of the government to do that?
Be checking referrals, the base of the company, how well established they are, and experience, previous history, pricing, you know.
Previous history with who?
What's that?
Previous history with who? With the government? Or,
With the parish or any other company.
I mean, because I've been here a while, and I've watched companies come in, and companies say I have 45 years worth of experience.
Mhm.
And I mean, I'm quite sure if you break it down, you know, you got one guy with you that got 20 years, another guy with you got 2 years. I mean, you put all together with your crew of people that you have. I got 45 years of experience, you know, with my company. So I'm just trying to figure out, you know, how do you dibble it out, you know, to those various companies, and it's kind of hard for me to comprehend that, because if you're talking ABC company and at your discretion, once the bid take place, now it's at my discretion that I dibble it out according to basically I feel that this company would do a better job, so I'm gonna give them 6 buildings, and I'm gonna give this company 2 buildings, and I'm gonna give this guy this company 3 buildings. I just don't get the process, you know, and it just seems to me that the process need to be somewhat critiqued a little better.
Well, we've got them broken down into groups A, B, and C, and a lot of that is logistics. Because I mean, you know, we don't need a company cleaning pollution control on St. Louis Canal Road and then having to go to Ashland Landfill and clean the buildings down there. You know, I mean, so we try to group them by their logistics as well as the size of the buildings, just from a logistics standpoint. I mean, we've got numerous buildings right here. This building and the building next door, which we own.
Get
So
for me-
basically, we would group those together.
Just for the sake of time, get for me your last proposal in terms of who got what, and I'm gonna sit down with you, and I want you to kind of explain to me how that, if so, Company A got 3 buildings and Company B got whatever. I just want to take time with you and you explain that to me, okay?
Okay.
And I'll
right.
do that with you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr.
Very
Chairman.
good. Thank you, Mr. Tillman. Continuing with lights, Mr. Vazan?
Yes, sir. Probably to Miss Elford, I would think, Mr. Chairman,
Okay,
if I may.
go ahead.
Miss Elford, janitorial service, is that something that administration handles, or being a service, or is it something that the council has to approve? Or is there an amount? And I guess the reason why I asked the question is if we have 3 different groups bidding, does that break down the numbers to whereas the council doesn't have to approve contracts?
No, all the contracts are in exceeding $20,000, so you absolutely will be seeing those contracts. Any expenditure that exceeds $20,000 in an annual basis, we bring before this council.
And you have in the past administration done that?
Yeah, yes, sir. Would you like a copy of the resolution that possibly approved those particular contracts? I can.
You
get
would
it.
have that?
I don't have it, but I guess I can look it up.
Oh, okay. I think Paul can look it up for me too, and I'll probably have Paul look it up for me. All 3 contracts you're saying are in excess of 20,000.
They would have to be. Yes, $287,000.
Sure.
Yeah.
There's not one bigger, like 120,000. They're all equally close, or?
I couldn't tell you that. Couldn't tell you that. I can
But
give
the
you a
total is
report.
how much, Mr. Gordon?
Total's $287,000 for this coming budget. I don't think any of the contracts would be for under $20,000.
Okay. Mr. Budd, if you'd get that information for us and find out, the bidding process, is the council part of that bidding process? I understand that several people have bid on this. Is that correct, Ms. Elford?
Mr. Drury would have that information.
Okay, what's the question?
The question is the council part of the bidding process, or is it administration's responsibility, yours and maybe the parish president's responsibility to choose the lowest bidder and bring to the council? Is that how it's done?
That's correct. But you asked him how many people bid? He
Yes.
would have that information, but administration's responsibility is to seek proposals and make a
Seek the
decision.
lowest bid, the best proposal, and make a recommendation.
Proposals.
That's the question. Thank you. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. I have one question, Mr. Dury. Do we do any type of feasibility studies on our buildings to make sure they're operating efficiently? I mean, do we seek proposals from vendors, or how's that handled?
Yes, we do. I mean, I know as far as back a year ago that we had a company that came in, and I spent several days, put in a lot of hours walking facilities with them, showing them every pump, every motor, every air handler, every filter, every facility that we had. Spent a lot of my time with them, and they were supposed to come back with some kind of energy efficient program that they would participate in. We really didn't hear back from them, but then I think they were waiting to hear back from me on some items. But one of them was Mr. Tim Wolf with, I think it's Star Services or something, was one that approached us as far back as a year ago. I talked to him, I mean, probably prior to the storm, but he was supposed to get back with me and look at that, you know.
I really would like to see us move in that direction, at least try to get some efficiency studies done on our buildings. I mean, with the rising costs of utilities and electricity and that type of thing, and even repair bills. I mean, I'd like to see us move in that direction.
And we're
If we
moving
can
in
make
that direction.
If we can get these buildings operating more efficiently, maybe by doing something different, you know, because it's getting to be really expensive, and I think we can really trim this cost if we work on it. And I mean, all it is getting proposals from these companies to see what
Correct.
they would do and how they would offer it, and if they charge. Some of them wouldn't charge to do an initial inspection, you know.
Right.
But I'd
They
like to
usually
see
don't
us-
charge anything to do the survey, but they, you know, and then just to let you know that the government towers, I mean, this has been we've been waiting on improvements for this building for years, and we bid the project earlier this year. It came in way over budget, you know. We're going to bid it back out again later this year, so hopefully it'll come in maybe a little lower if more people bid on it. We only had one bidder on the project, but the scope of that project is to do what you're talking about, putting in more efficient air handlers with a building management system where we can automate everything. We can actually manage our facility, sort of like what you do your home. So that's the direction we're moving in, but it takes time.
Okay, thank you. Okay, any more questions? All right, we'll move on to the next fund. Fund number 237, FTA Grant Fund, Good Earth Transit.
On page 157, the highlights. The program receives grants. Most of the program is grant funded. 106,000 from Parish Transportation Fund. FTA grant for operational assistance, 769,000. Planning and capital, 92,000, and estimated bus fare revenue, 96,000. General fund will supplement this program, $516,000 for 2009. That's an estimated amount over 2008 of 357,000. Capital request, 1 copier for 16,000, a file server upgrade, 3,000. ALV equipment radio system, 8,000, and future bus replacement set aside, 43,444.
Okay, I have a light, Ms. Williams.
Mr. Voisin, please.
Wendell Voisin, Public Transit.
Mr. Voisin, last year I asked that you would look into getting more money funded so that we can see the feasibility of at least starting a weekend bus program for our disabled and less advantaged people. Is that money included in any of the funds that you've requested?
No, ma'am. Those monies are not included. We'll have to do a revision to the budget to include them.
But you do have some numbers for it?
Yes, we requested approximately $297,000 per year for funding for 2 years in a grant proposal we put through, and we got the contracts right here to start the service. So the funding was accepted the request was accepted by the FTA, and it's we got the grant contract. So
it just wasn't put in here?
No, it wasn't, because we were unsure at the time about the acceptance of it.
Well, I just want to say personally thank you for taking the time out to continue to push for that money. I remembered when we talked about it at South Central Planning. I appreciate everything that you've done to put into this, and I'm pretty sure our elderly citizens, our disabled citizens, and those that are not able to take the bus can take it on the weekends now. So I appreciate it, and thank you very much, Mr. Voisin.
You're welcome.
Okay, I have one speaker card. Mr. Mickey Fonseca, Budget, FTA Grant Funds. Say your name and address.
Mickey Fonseca, 253 Magnolia, Apartment 2. I just wanted to, I found out at the beginning of the meeting about we accepting getting the grant, so I just, that's what I was going to ask tonight about, and I just want to say thank y'all. Thank you, Mr. Wazan, and the council and the parish administration for getting this pushed through, because it's going to be a real help for our disabled people and our elderly people who need the bus service on the weekend. Thank y'all very much.
Thank you, Mr. Fonseca. Okay, any other questions? Mr. Tillman? Yes, sir, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Wilder, how things going with the after the land purchase for the new facility? How's it going?
It's going well. We have an architect hired, and the design of the building is underway at the current time.
What we're looking at? We got a guesstimation on that in terms of,
Every estimate I've made so far has been pretty wrong.
oh,
But hopefully we'll have it built sometime next year, by the end of the year.
all right, okay. Thank you very much. Thank you. Mr.
Thank you.
Chairman.
All right. Continuing with lights, Ms. Cavalier.
What's the update on those benches? I mean, do we have a new contract with Lamar? Are we gonna improve, or what are we doing?
Yes, ma'am. We're going to try to improve all that. We're trying to take that in-house, as you know. We're negotiating with Lamar about the condition and the cost to turn over the system, and we had pretty well come to terms on condition and numbers. Then the storms hit, so now we have to go back and reconcile everything, because a lot of those assets were destroyed or further damaged. So we're back renegotiating again.
In my travels, I saw in other places where they have benches with attached covers. It isn't a bus shelter like we have in maybe 3 places in my area. And I was wondering, why can't we get, with the resources we have here, the TARC sheltered workshop we have with the trustees through the sheriff's department? I mean, if they can redo a swimming pool, it looks to me like they could come up with something as far as, you know, benches with covers on them. I just have a really hard time when I pass and there's an elderly person waiting to use the bus in the rain, when there's a woman with a small child, when there's anyone. And I mean, it's hot in the summer. It's wet here all the time, and we don't provide it. And then we wonder why people don't ride our bus. Well, I don't want to sit out there either, and you know, and it's not, I mean, we don't have to keep going with what we have now. When I passed, it was this one modular, and it was like a fiberglass deal. It looked like a little half an egg, and you sat in there, and it was all clear, so you could see anything when the bus was coming, but it protected the people that were waiting for the bus.
Right.
I mean, I just think we need to get some new ideas. I mean, if you want to get a committee together, we're good at getting committees. And I mean, and people from the community could step up and, you know, come up with something. But there's got to be something else, because really and truly, this has been going now for, 3 years, this thing back and forth with Lamar. I say to Lamar, you walk in and you tell them it's over, pick up your benches, and you go find us some more benches.
Right. Well, I know one of the things that's been sort of a stumbling block, but it's not that bad of a stumbling block, is the new building codes, you know, for putting up structures now. They have to meet these high wind loads.
But these wouldn't be structures. These are the benches. They're attached to the benches. Now, if these people have them, they must have a patent somewhere. And it's called, you know, the internet. We can all, you know, get one of those little interns we had all summer. They're great on the internet. They can find us whatever we need. I mean, I'm just, you know, this is the time of year when we start talking about ideas. We seem to stagnate during the years and just during the year and take care of the day-to-day problems. But we got to start thinking about this. But it's been 3 years we've been talking about Lamar and their benches, Lamar and their benches. And it's 3 years that people have been sitting out in the rain, you know. So we need to do something. Please come back in the next few weeks with some ideas.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay, I see no other lights, I believe. This is it. All right, thank you, sir. Fund number 240, Federal Highway Administration Rural Transit, page number 164.
The rural transit is managed by the Council on Aging. We do assist them from the general fund, $38,194 to help them with the insurance for the buses.
It's pretty self-explanatory. Any questions? Okay, very good. Okay, let's go on to the next one. Fund number 151-302, Engineering, page 59.
The engineering department is requesting 4 computers at a cost of $7,500, 1 scanner copier, $17,000, and 2 vehicles, $36,000.
Okay, I see any lights? My question is, what type of vehicles are we gonna have here for 18,000 apiece. Did they say, just specify what type of vehicles?
Jeannie Bray, Engineering Division. Yes, sir, these are two replacement vehicles for a vehicle that's over 10 years old and one that's 14 years old. We're looking at getting a utility truck for levy inspections and whatnot, and the other one can be just a sedan of whatnot. We may get two trucks, I'm not sure at this point.
I remember, I think, Mr. Pizzolato, we went through this with the Waterworks District. Remember that? 18,000 to get you a Fairlane or whatever it is, the top of the line Ford automobile. So you're gonna be having a truck vehicle?
Yes, sir.
Truck? Was that gonna be half-ton or?
We haven't even spec'd it out at this point. It may not go to the full 18,000. We just
Right.
put that in for budgetary purposes.
Okay, okay, thank you. Any other questions? Very good. Okay, next is Fund Number 151, 111, Parish Council, and this is page 19.
Under budget highlights, the council is requesting a computer for their minute clerk replacement, $2,000.
Okay. Guess this budget is fine, no one is, somebody has one? Okay, I'm sorry. Okay, Ms.
In
Cavalier.
the budget, it has that our fiscal person, and it states full-time. Do we have to tell you that we want her to stay part-time? Do we have to vote on this or whatever? So how do we make you known the wishes?
Have a budgeted full-time fiscal officer, and if you choose to hire a part-time, that's fine.
Because she is part-time right now.
Mhm.
Okay, because I mean, personally, I'd like to say public, because she's doing a wonderful job, and I'd like to see her stay in that capacity, because it's less money, which is less expenses for the parish, correct? Okay, I'm just making sure. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Cavalier. Any other questions? All right, fine. Next fund is Fund 209, City Marshal. And
You
that-
skipped one.
Oh, Council Clerk,
We have to
excuse me,
remember.
151, 115. That's page 21. Sorry, Paul.
Under budget highlights, another computer for a minute clerk, $2,000. You must put one in each department.
Okay, Ms. Cavalier.
We just want to be fair, so nobody thinks that we're not asking about. How old are these computers that we're replacing?
Had them in the old building, so.
Oh, that's old. Thank you. That's all I need to know.
Mr. Labat?
That was it.
That was it? Thank you. Okay, any other questions? Now we'll get to City Marshal, Fund Number 209, page 119.
Under budget highlights, their revenue generated from fines and forfeitures is estimated to be $227,000 in 2009. That should be. That's an increase of $39,000.
1,009, okay.
That should be correct. The general fund supplements this fund with pilot revenue of $524,256, which is the same as 2008. For capital outlay, they're asking for one printer, $2,500, and two vehicles replacements, $35,000.
Employees remain the same, huh?
They have 13 employees, and they're asking to stay at 13 employees.
Okay, any questions for the City Marshal? Ms. Cavalier?
On the performance measures, that must be a typo, huh? Total number of court sessions adult, only 2 for 2009 projected? It's on page 119.
It may be.
I mean, we had
It looks
280 in
odd, yeah.
2007 and 285 in
Yeah, we can
2008.
check.
We only got 2 for 2009.
Yeah, we will check it.
We're not gonna have any crime next year in Terrebonne Parish.
Paper
That's
clip
right.
that page.
The two vehicles. The first year that I was up here, you were asking for a van to transport people, and we went round and round because we didn't have any money. These two vehicles that you're asking for now, what are they for?
They're sedans,
Sedans, okay,
but they still be going out of parish.
that's it.
I've got two vans that do mainly transportation, but there's days when they're both gone, and I got to pull somebody off the road to go to New Orleans to a doctor's appointment or Bossier City to pick up a kid or whatever, you know,
Got it.
all over the state.
All right, thank you.
Okay, any other questions for the marshal? Thank you, sir.
Thank
Very
you.
good. Okay, next is fund number 151, 120 City Court, page 24. And let me get there, and I see we have a light. Nope, no light?
Under budget highlights for City Court, City Court is requesting to add 1 juvenile officer, eliminate 1 juvenile case manager, add 2 deputy clerk 3s, and add 2 part-time community service workers. Their expenditures are with an increase of 5.8%. And the account called reimbursements, that comes from the city court fines and forfeitures. They generate that money and they reimburse us for the expenditures.
We still have the community service programs, huh? Don't they still do that, community service?
I can get Mr. Holloway to come up and talk
Oh,
about the
Mr.
program.
Holloway? Yes, sir. Name for the record, sir?
Doug Holloway, City Court. Yes, sir, we do.
Mm-hmm.
It's done primarily by juveniles and it's done on the weekends. So it used to be a program that we ran almost full-time. But it went from being an adult to a juvenile community service work program. And because we wanted to keep the kids in school and everything, we just do it on the weekends now.
Great. How many do you have?
Oh.
Huh?
They usually, we have one van and it's full every weekend, so.
Every weekend?
Yes, sir.
So you do it every weekend?
Yes, sir.
That's great. Okay, I got one light here from Mr. Tillman. Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, he's answered it already. I was about to ask you, how many vehicles do you have? So you only have one?
We only have one right now, yes.
You could use 2?
Oh, yeah, we could definitely use 2. Yeah,
Well,
and
some of
because the
these-
one we have right now is old. It's in bad shape, but it gets them around.
So why didn't you ask?
That's right. Why did you ask?
Because I'm just a fiscally conservative person, Mr. Tillman, and I hate to push it.
What's the model of the van?
I couldn't even tell you because it was one of the ones that the marshals used to use. It's one of their replacement vans. So
Maybe next time around you can.
yes, sir. I'll take it under consideration. Thanks a lot.
Yes, sir. Okay, we still have some more lights. Ms. Cavalier?
This is from Ms. Alfred. Ms. Alfred, on like the other, like the district attorney and all of them, when you look at it, they talk about their revenues and then total expenditures. Do they have any revenues? Do they collect fines from the people and?
District Attorney's Office? Yes,
No,
ma'am.
the city court.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, but we don't mention that in here?
They do their own, they have their own accounting system, and they collect their revenues directly. And we pay their bills for personnel services and a couple other things, and they reimburse us a large percentage of that from their fines and forfeiture revenues.
What's like the percentage? I mean, do we, like you talked about the sheriff's office, you said how much, they collect and about how much?
It's not a percentage, it's just a negotiated, amount of money. For example, and I'll give you an example. Several years ago, it might have been around 18-19%, and they wanted an additional, I think it was a counselor, some type of counselor position, and he paid for 100% of that counselor's position because he wanted that position for him. And he reimbursed us 100%. So the percentage that they actually reimbursed us has grown.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Okay, fine, thank you. Moving right along. Next is fund number 151-121, District Court, page 26.
The highlights of that department is to reclass a secretary to a district court coordinator. That has already been done in job duties. Just the title in our system and our personnel has always been secretary, but she is titled district court coordinator under the judges. So we're just asking for us to match what they're already doing. Their total expenditures has actually decreased 2.25%.
Very good. Any questions? I don't see any questions from anyone. Okay, moving right along. Fund number 151-123, District Attorney, page 28.
Under budget highlights, their percentage increase from over last year is 8.95%. They're asking for 2 assistant district attorneys, increasing that from 17 to 19. Their total department is 19 employees now, and they're asking up to 21.
Okay, one light here, Ms. Cavalier.
Kevin, if you come on down, please.
Kevin Guidry, Administrator, Terrebonne Parish District Attorney's Office.
Okay, why do we need 2 more district attorneys?
Actually, what we're asking is to, the state has already given us these 2 positions, and they are on staff and have been for some time. But as you know, we do not have any method by which to give them group health and medical insurance and those types of things. So what we're asking is if you guys will allow us to put them on the parish payroll for a small portion of their pay so that they will be able to participate in the health and medical insurances.
Do they pay for their own insurance, or does it?
Currently, they are paying for their own insurance, and of course, they've been asking, and we promised when we brought them on, when the state agreed to bring them on, they get a state warrant, a specified amount from the state. So they've been on the job, doing the job, but we haven't been able to fulfill our obligation to give them the benefits that we promised them when we hired them. And we've been at a standstill for a number of years, so we always hate to come and ask for more. But we do have those folks on my back every day asking, when can I get my insurance?
And
et
the
cetera.
benefits with the district attorney's office, the district attorneys have free free insurance, or do they pay a price, or?
I think we pay the same thing as every
Same
other
as
parish.
the parish
Sure.
employees?
There was a time that was actually different, but many years ago, Jamie and I got together and we fixed that.
Okay. Second question, I want to ask Ms. Elford, but I'm
Sure.
just staying up there for another one. When you look at like the expenditures and the revenues, okay, on the next page deal, they bring in enough money to pay for what they're asking? Is that wrong, or is that on the like where it talks about district attorney, I think on page, might be 210 or whatever, where you have the revenues and you have the expenditures, the big, table? It's still under district attorney, though, I know that. Let's see, might be 210. Might be 210.
That's the next one we're gonna discuss.
Yeah, but this goes with that, because I don't understand.
The next one is the criminal court fund.
Okay,
The easiest way to
That's-
distinguish, if I might say, the first one is about the attorneys, the assistant DAs.
Okay.
And myself, and then everybody else is in the second one.
okay, so this does not come out of the second?
No, ma'am.
It's
No.
totally separate.
This is totally separate. This is what we,
General
Give to
fund,
them.
general fund pays for the district attorney and his assistants in general fund directly.
okay. When we were gonna go to trial for the, murder case,
Yes, ma'am.
we hired another attorney. Is that attorney still working for us?
Mr. Rhodes, yes.
We have another case?
Oh, we have him, he's doing sexual assault, sexual abuse cases. We've got him
Okay.
very, very busy.
Okay, because I know that one of the reasons why we hired him was because
Correct.
of his expertise in that area.
That is correct.
So we've kept that person. Because
Absolutely.
we had an increase in the middle that wasn't budgeted, and now 2 more district attorneys.
The state, if I may say, the state goes through every year, they determine based on population, crime statistics, and other factors, how many assistant DAs should be allotted or assigned to each jurisdiction. There are 41 jurisdictions in the state. We're the 32nd. And last year, they decided, that they believed we needed 2 additional. So we went forward, hired them, the state made those funds available, but we did not give them those benefits, health medical insurance at the time because we didn't have them to offer. We didn't want to come and get a budget amendment or anything of that nature. We figured we'd wait until this time to ask for that.
Okay. So really, the increase that you're asking over last year is for their
These
benefits?
Right.
Everything else is really staying
No
constant?
raises, none of that stuff.
And a district attorney, about how many cases does he handle for y'all?
Oh, wow, it's hard to say. We actually have assistant DAs that handle different jobs. We have an elder abuse assistant DA that all she does is handle the cases involving the elderly. The 2 assistant DAs that we're talking about, one is going to be handling our DWI court and all of the activity in there, and he has a misdemeanor division as well. So they handle thousands of cases a year in the misdemeanor courts.
But they have to do a minimum number of hours per week with you?
Absolutely.
And what's
Absolutely.
that minimum?
37 and a half hours, so they're full-time and eligible for the insurance.
Okay.
And many of them do have private practices.
Right.
But this comes first, and this is their priority, and they understand that when they come in.
Okay, thank you.
I just have 2 comments to make. I mean, when you look at your performance measures, Kevin, I mean, the percentage of conviction rate in criminal prosecutions is 2007 was 85%, 2008 estimated 95%, and 2009 95%, which I think is great. And the next one that's really good is the amount collected in child support collections, which 2007 was 9 million, 2008 estimated 9.1 million, and 2009 projected 9.3. I think that's great.
Thank you, Mr.
Good
Abel.
job.
We're very proud of that particular program. Mr. Waits has received numerous awards as one of the top producing areas in the state as far as going out and seeking and collecting child support for the children. So we're very proud of that. Thanks for mentioning.
Good O's. Yes, sir. Thank you. Any other questions? Thank you. Okay, thank you, Mr. Guidry.
Okay.
And now, okay, we got one more here. Fund number 299, District Attorney, page 210.
Okay, the budget highlights reflect that the fines and forfeiture revenue is $3,500,000 for 2009. The general fund supplement is $1,460,026, and computer equipment capital for $7,500. The fines and forfeitures is related to other services and charges, if you notice in that budget summary box, and that is related to mainly the distribution of lace, the sheriff's amount, and the city court.
Okay, recognizing lights, Ms. Cavalier.
So the general fund is $1,460,000. That's in addition to the fund we just talked about?
Yes.
Okay. And on secretaries, you got 15 at present, but you got 22 projected. Why you need more secretaries? Because that's new benefits. That's 7 more people with benefits.
No, it was originally budgeted at 22 in
Right.
2008.
But we only got 15 right now.
Right, so
That's what I'm saying.
it just hasn't been replaced yet.
Right. And now, are you making it?
Actually, they are there. They are also in the same posture as the 2 assistants we spoke about. They are employed, working for us, but they do not have the health and medical benefits, and these folks also do not have the benefit of the parochial retirement system, which most parish employees have. So what we were asking to do is to add back each position that we currently employ that do not have those benefits. What we reached an agreement with administration for this year is we would not add to that number, which the already approved number of 65, we would just go ahead and fill the slots that we already have employees for, but the slots have become empty. We had 4 or 5 people leave in the last month or so, right before the storm. So the agreement we have with the administration is we will not ask for additional slots. We will just fill the 65 that you all have approved for us. Through attrition, we have dropped down to 57. We didn't fill them. Number one, we were concerned about making it for this budget year, for dollar-wise. We're hoping to do it in January. We were hoping to take the whole pool of these folks, which is probably 12 or so, and put them all on the parish insurance come January. They've asked us not to do that because it would increase the dollar amount significantly. So what we agreed to do for 2009 is simply get back to the 65 you guys have already budgeted and approved for us and stay there. Next year, we'll see what, what financially what you guys are able to do. We may come in and ask for a couple of more of those folks. So we're at 57 or whatever number the parish is showing, but the 65 plus actually are employed, but those folks also do not receive the health and medical insurance benefit, and they do not receive retirement because we don't have any such benefit to offer them. We rely on the parish for those services.
Jamie, when we cut back under the prior administration, we cut positions. This is pre-Katrina, pre-everything, and we had to cut back. Have we come back to the level we were before that cut?
Parish-wide, I couldn't tell you, but I can give you a report on that.
Because, and this is nothing about your operation, but I mean, if we're talking about going back to the amounts that we had before, our employees had to take on more work because of the cuts that were made and are doing, the jobs. I have to wonder why one department can and another department can't, These are things that I need to look at during this process. If we approve this, then those people who are in those jobs would start receiving benefits and would become part of the retirement system. That's what you're saying?
That's my
That's what you're
understanding. That's
saying.
what we're asking, is to get back to the 65 that we were operating at in 2007, Jane?
2008.
2008, we actually had a 65 staff, 65 member staff, and we're down to 57 now, and we're wanting just to get back to the number 65 in the budget. As I said, the folks are already here and employed and working every day. In addition to the 65, it's probably closer to 70, but we're not asking for that number. We're only asking for the 65.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Cavalier. I have administration. Anybody want to press the button? That's all right. All right, Kevin, I see no other lights.
Thank you. Thank you all very much.
Very good job. Okay, Fund number 151-652, Economic Development, page 69.
We have several things in this particular department. It includes $41,200 for our regional membership with South Central Planning, $7,500 for Economic Development Regional Revolving Loan Fund Administration, and $40,000 for the local match of the Urban Systems Grant Administration. We also fund $10,000 a year for Main Street Management, the Downtown Concerts, Art After Dark, co-sponsorship with Downtown Merchants Association and activities. We also have the TITA board distribution in here. We have 50% of the occupational license collected both in city and rural areas that are dedicated to TITA. $720,655 is estimated for 2009. We also contract TITA for the Economic Development Parish Revolving Loan Fund Administration. The difference between the revolving loan fund that TITA handles and the one South Central Planning does, South Central Planning is regional. TITA does the parish revolving loan fund, only the people in the parish, and we have $40,000 payment to them for that.
Okay, that's it, Jamie?
Yes, sir.
Okay, Mr. Tillman.
Yes, Mike, I know that we've all been affected by Gustav and Ike. Give us an update on your group and how Gustav and Ike have affected economic development in this parish.
Well, of course, right now our organization is actively working with businesses that have been storm affected and are evaluating where they are and what their next steps are. The TITA board has taken action in that there are businesses that are not being able to take advantage of SBA or other conventional financing, and in working with the parish has
set up a microloan program to help further small businesses that are trying to survive. We've had approximately 20 companies who have either been turned down for traditional financing or by SBA that are struggling in their endeavor to keep their doors open. We are now accepting applications for that. We are also working with businesses that were heavily storm damaged and are now evaluating as they rebuild, where they rebuild, and how they're going to rebuild. We've engaged the state of Louisiana whenever possible and requested any appropriate infrastructure dollars or tax incentives for these companies and are actively working with them to keep them here in Terrebonne Parish.
With your list of businesses that you have that you are assisting, do we have any businesses at this point that have opted out, or any business that is on the verge of closing their doors?
Yes, sir.
Number?
We don't have a full number on that. We have some that are considering whether to stay in business or not because of the way they were affected.
I'm hoping we can do something about it. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Ferdinand.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Ferdinand, let me ask you a question. What is the deadline for the economic injury for businesses, for SBA? Do you know right? I don't want to put you on the spot.
Not off the top of my head, but I do have all that back in the file. In fact, we're going to post that on parish television to be rolling text this week.
Because I think it's soon, and I was trying
Yes,
to
sir.
see maybe if we could get an extension on that, because I know some people had problems getting their financial information compiled to see what it is, and they want, SBA's wanting it pretty quick, and I know they want to react to it pretty quick, but
In our conversation with the SBA today, they do not anticipate extending that filing deadline.
okay. Okay, any other questions? Okay, thank you, Mr. Ferdinand.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, next is fund number 202, Juvenile Detention Center, page 87.
Under budget highlights, we have 2 millages that we levy for the Juvenile Detention Center. We generate about $1.2 million. We also have DOC Juveniles and Office of Youth Development, that's estimated at $337,000. Our general fund supplement is proposed of $1,109,000. Even though it shows an increase of $179,649, the reason for the 19% increase is because last year we used some of their savings account to fund their department. This year we've used up the savings account and we're going to go back to asking for more money from general fund. Under their personnel, they have no increase in employees. I noticed that, Ms. Tavalier, what you were looking at a while ago in a previous department, under adopted, they have 50 slots. When we prepare the budget, we take a snapshot in time as to how many employees are currently filling the 50 positions. This could change from 47 filled position to 2, we could lose 2 employees 2 days after we prepare this budget. This is just an estimate of how many people we actually have filling the 50 slots budgeted in this particular department. So he's not asking for 3 additional employees. He's just saying that the time that we prepared this, we only had 47 filled of the 50. Okay.
Thank you. Mr. Tillman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Who's going to handle it, Mr. Hutchins? Couldn't let you sit back there and get stiff like that, man. It was all stiff and everything. Jason, I know that I've asked Mr. Ferdinand earlier as it relates to Gustav and Ike. I know your facility was affected. Give us a rundown on how Ike and Gustav affected your facility, and let us know what happened to the kids that you had in your facility, and give us a report if all of them are all right, whatever else you want to tell us.
Well, we are okay.
Okay.
But obviously it was a tough time for everybody. For Gustav, myself and 3 other male staff took 15 boys to Bossier City. The reason we had to go with them was they didn't have the staffing to cover the security components, so we wound up staying with the children. That was 15 boys. Captain McGuire, my assistant director, who's in the audience, took 3 female staff members and took 8 females to Covington to stay at the Florida Parish's facility. Same scenario, we had to provide security for them. So in essence, those 8 employees continued their role. The rest of the children, with the blessings of the court, and because of the nature of the charges for which they were there, were sent home. Then when we came back for Ike, we didn't reopen immediately. I'm sorry, when we came back from Gustav, we didn't obviously just bring them all back because clearly we had Ike right around the corner. The decision was made to keep the children locally, and I think you know where it is, but obviously for safety purposes, it's an undisclosed location in Terrebonne Parish. We took 3.5 to 4 inches of water in the building. We got a crew to come in, an environmental crew to obviously clean the building, and they spent about 2.5, 3 weeks doing that, getting the electronics worked out. Also during that time period, myself, my maintenance man, and some trustees that were generously donated to me by the sheriff's office, we painted the entire back half of the building, the floors, the walls, the tables, to get the building really, the secured part of it looking really good. $1,100 worth of paint, and I figured we probably did about $25,000 worth of work. So I was real pleased with that. Just a couple real quick things, because I know you guys have been doing this for a while. We've had several milestones take place, unfortunately, in the last 40 days that didn't get the proper notice they probably should have gotten. But the building on September 1st, we turned 10 years old. 10 years we've been operational. As of yesterday afternoon at midnight, I should say last night at midnight, we've booked 8,036 children. So we hit the 8,000 number in the last 30 days. I'm also very happy to say that we had 14 of our employees all become 10-year employees. And to add to the 3 we already had from last year, we now have 17 in the building that are 10 or more years of service to our government and these young people that we work with. This month, I should say not this month, but in the beginning of December, we'll be hosting the Louisiana Juvenile Detentions Association, which is our state training conference. It's held every year. It rotates throughout the different facilities. The last time we held the conference was the year we opened. So 10 years later, we're getting that opportunity again. I think the biggest hit, Mr. Tillman, we've lost some employees over this matter. 2 or 3 of them are going to have to relocate. Their houses were damaged beyond their ability at this point to move back in. And I had one particular employee, which I'm very sorry to see leave, was my employee of the year last year. He's been with us for about 2.5 years now, and unfortunately his situation was that they were not able to relocate into the house that they lived in, and as a result of that, the family had to move up north with family, and he stayed with us for about maybe 4 weeks, and his last day is going to be Sunday. So there has been some challenges, and obviously we're back partially operational because we've lost numerous male staff members. We have got with city court, and we have actually left one of our dorms temporarily closed until we get the numbers where we need to be for safety purposes. We have hired since then 5 new employees, but obviously there's a training involvement there that usually takes 6 to 7 weeks. And that's all I have as far as covered everything. Oh, by the way, I know something you're very much interested in the middle of all this. Last week we had 2 kids pass the GED exam.
All right, that's what I'm talking about.
So we now have 4 that have graduated from our GED program.
Before you take your seat, you had any equipment loss?
No, actually, we had some damage. We did a really nice job, I like to think, of getting everything elevated. But we did wind up losing a couple electrical outlets, the kind that the power strips that are on the floor that just didn't get picked up. The hard drive would get picked up, but the strip would stay on the floor, just oversights. And obviously with the mass exodus, when we make the decision to leave, we probably just had a few oversights. Biggest thing we lost was some carpeting in some of the administrative part of the building. But we were fortunate in that our building had been already adjusted from when the original jail was built, which is one of the reasons why we're not seeing the headaches they're seeing. I'll give you a specific example of that. Our chillers, the little blower units we have in our closets, are already sitting on 14-inch platforms. In the adult jail, they sit directly on the concrete. So we have an advantage. And then you add another 2 or 3 inches of height to our floor as a whole, gives us another 3 inches on top of that. So we have somewhat about a 17-inch difference with our chillers and what have you. So other than a few mattresses, some flooring that's buckled in a few places, which is being addressed now, we have 2 dorms operational, and I believe our count at the moment is about 37 37 out of 40 beds that are available are occupied.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. Tillman. Continue with lights, Ms. Cavalier.
First, I'd like to publicly say thank you to all of your employees who left their families to go take care of these children, because they were protecting us in essence, and I appreciate what they
Thank
did.
you.
People need to know the sacrifices these people make, because they don't get to bring their kids with them. Most of us, when we evacuated, we were very pleased to have our family, and we knew where they were. They had to leave them with someone else, and I appreciate that. Pre-storm, okay, let's just go to the jail itself. There are instances where we are turning away children who are being arrested. Isn't this true, Mr. Hutchison?
Yes.
Yes. And this is something that the general public doesn't know. They will get arrested and they will be told, you will go to jail, not now. I think we need to realize as a parish, because we have enjoyed for so long such a great detention system, people from other parishes come and look at what we have. We're outgrowing it. It's a sad commentary on our society, but it's a reality. And I think that people need to know, for their own safety, we need to look at enlarging your jail, which is very sad. I don't know that it needs to be enlarged as it is. From my experience, it's children, juveniles who are not hardened criminals, but we're having to put him in with hardened criminals, because he does have offenders that have been in there for some years, and they've been sent to other institutions. And that worries me, because I don't like to see children who are first offenses mixed with others who are repeat offenders. But I think that this board needs to realize, and this community, that he's doing a fantastic job, but he's also limited, and that our population on the detention side is growing. And I think that this is a dialogue that needs to begin, and we need to all start talking about it, because if not, it takes so long to catch up behind the 8 ball. I mean, we need to be ahead of it. We need to sit down, administration, with him and find out what's going on. What does he see? I mean, he's such a great record keeper. I'm sure that he can show us where the trends are and what area we need to start looking at. So I'd like to bring that just to the attention of this population and to this board. Thank you.
Ms. Williams.
Thank you. Just to add to Ms. Cavalier, first of all, Jason, I'd like to thank you for the work that you guys do. But the district attorney's office has started to develop some intelligence that we could probably use, and hopefully not to expand, but to reduce the, to bring down the recidivism rate. But are there any programs that you're going to be putting in place that's going to start with rehabilitation?
In the facility? We go from 7 in the morning till 7
No,
at
I mean,
night.
I know the ones that you already have, but I'm saying those that are going to provide help for them once they get back on the street.
Yes, actually, we just, Title I funding, which is the funding that I use that you guys don't ever deal with because it's a school board issue. To give you an idea, our 2008 allocated amount was about 110 grand. Well, I found out right before the hurricanes that next year's amount's going to be around 240,000. You can look in today's paper and you will see a job by the Options of Independence that is looking for a transition person that's going to help transition our children. It's the ones we've identified back into the school system, back into perhaps a work environment, a work area if they're old enough. So Options of Independence in conjunction with us and Title I have come together to create this to help burn up. This is a crazy thing to say, but I've got so much money from Title I right now because of the way the numbers are now interpreted that I almost have to, we got to do outside stuff to be able to, because I have occupied every hour of the day at this point with GED, with life skills, with counselor. We've taken care of that internally, and we have, unless I had another classroom to add something else. So we got involved with Options to do just that, and right now they're advertising for that position. Now, we'll say this. The thing that I got to remind everyone is our jurisdiction in all this is limited to the detention component. We're not, that's the city court is going to have to take up that banter if to say, because if you're going to, when you start mandating programming, that has to come from a judge. And a lot of people, sometimes think that juvenile detention is responsible for all this, but it's a systematic wide trouble. You just got to read the paper and look at what happened in the schools just in the last couple of weeks. So it's going to be all of us. And I know I'm preaching to the choir right now, so.
You know, I've been sleeping and eating fights for the last 2 weeks. So I'm glad to hear that it did increase to $240,000. So this program is actually going to be between Options and the school board.
Well, Options is going to entirely run the program off of our Title I formulas, but we're going to be the recommending agency, and they're going to be coming to us, and we're going to be identifying which children are going to be involved in this program.
So maybe when the talks are made, that we need to make sure we have someone from city court involved to let them understand that how serious it's going to be. Because, I mean, I'm one that's always going to preach reducing recidivism and rehabilitation, but there's also going to need some funding, and we're going to need some help from city court, like you said, to set these programs and to make mandates on these children and now on some of these parents, because until we address that, then the recidivism rate is going to increase instead of decrease. But I'm just glad to hear about that 240, so thank you, Jason.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Williams. Okay, any other questions? Okay, thank you, Jason.
Thank you, sir.
Very good. Okay, next is fund number 385, Civic Center, page 248, the last one for tonight.
Highlights for the Civic Center is the hotel motel tax that is dedicated to their services in 2009. It's proposed to receive $211,518. They have self-generated revenues from their facility use rentals, marketing, celebrity promotions, etc. For 2009, they're estimating $850,000, an increase of 48%. General fund supplement will remain the same for 2009, $860,000. Their capital request is a 14-foot pipe and drape system, $21,000.
Okay, thank you. Seeing any lights? Do we have any lights? Okay, no questions. No questions. That's it for tonight. Motion to adjourn.